All right, guys. I just want to jump on here for a minute. This is Keith Shillan. Tell you what's going on with this episode. This is a special edition of MMA Past, Present, Future, where I talk to just one fighter from the past, and that's Jens Pulver. That wasn't originally supposed to be the case. Jens Pulver was supposed to be part of, he was going to be the past, and then there was going to be two other people after him. You know what? We started talking, and we went much longer than we were supposed to. We usually do about 20 to 30 minutes with the fighter from the past. Me and Jens went over an hour, and that's just because we get into some really deep, dark things, and it just didn't really fit. It wouldn't have done justice. It wouldn't have been fair for me to add other fighters after it. I didn't want to make light of what he went through, so we decided just to cut the whole video and make it a single video. I've done interviews, many interviews over the years, and I think this is one of the best, maybe the best interview I did because it's completely different. So I hope you guys like this addition, and kind of ignore the introduction where I started talking about, fighters coming up in the other two spots. Just ignore that. I wasn't expecting at the time. Enjoy. This is being brought to you by Sherdog.com and the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. I'm going to get right into our first guest. My first guest is an absolute legend of the sport. He is the original UFC lightweight champion. He, of course, as you can see already on the screen, he is Little Evil himself, Jens Pulver. Jens, how you doing, man?
How you doing? I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. First of all, thanks for jumping on. I just had your buddy last week. We had Tim Sylvia, so we kind of have this like Militich fighting systems theme going.
Very cool.
Let me ask you this, and this is actually not how I expected to start the show, but he was talking about, and I know you're in agreement with best team ever, Militich fight. Listen, I know you guys are biased. You'd say it, of course. He was talking about that you guys were so successful because you outworked everybody, and he started naming people who worked so hard. I didn't ask him this question. I'm going to ask you, who was the hardest worker of the entire team?
I don't know if you could get away with doing that because and I'm being serious because the reason why I say that is, nobody was going to outrun or outcondition me. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. When Tim Sylvia walked in there the first couple of days, he was so awkward, clumsy. You know what I mean? He was throwing up after 20 minutes of training, right?
Sure.
And look at what he pushed himself to. Jeremy Horn, he didn't have the body that made everybody think,
sure,
but you couldn't get him tired. We had so many of the young, a lot of youngsters. Matt Hughes and that farm boy never stops working all day long. That tendon strength, muscle strength, bucking hay, all the stuff that he did down there, right? So you can't just say one who outworked. Everybody did something different. Jason Black never quit his full-time job. Ben Earwood never quit his full-time job and fought in the UFC. Jason Black fought in the UFC, competed pretty highly, never quit his job, not one day. So again, you could never get away with, that'd be too easy trying to pick who did the most running or who did the most lifting because everybody worked hard in their own right.
Yeah. So Tim said this, like he wouldn't, I didn't ask him who was the hardest worker, but what he said, like he got over those natural lack of athleticism that you mentioned based on just working hard. And he said, I wanted to work as hard. And he mentioned two names, Pat Militich and you. So in his opinion, maybe it's you two leading the pack, but now where I went. So let me ask you this. It's been a long time since you fought, you retired. Do you ever just sit back and just kind of like reminisce over all the things you've accomplished, or you don't do that?
Well, I can do short answers. Long. No, here's the deal. Prepare yourself. No, what it was there were moments when I try to tell everybody now, and I'm going to jump way ahead with streaming and stuff because I know we're talking about the past, but streaming has given me this platform, which again, it allowed me to find value and people giving me their time. It's the single greatest gift anyone can give is their time. Money can't buy it, and at the end of it, we all wish we had more, no matter what. There is no amount of money can buy you more time.
That's right.
And the fact that people give me their time it's an incredible feeling. And therefore, the long time when I first had to retire, I was like, well, what am I going to do now? Because of the way that I set out to change my name, I set out to be different than my father. His name was Jens Pulver. I wanted my family to have something to smile. I wanted to just give us a journey, right? I just wanted to get on this journey. And I think about it because I get asked all the time, what about this loss? What about the end of your career losses? What about this? And what happened? And I mean this more now than I really, back in the day, I probably would have said this, and this. Oh, definitely this part. But the reality is, if any one thing would have changed in my life, I wouldn't be sitting here today, right now, doing this.
Yeah.
And I love what I'm doing. I love this.
Yeah.
I love my wife. I love my family. I love my kids. I mean, I love everything. And so I guess what I've learned through all of this and to help me let go of, obviously, if I really wanted to hang my hat, there are some moments in my career, right?
Yeah, of course.
Please. But if any one thing would have changed, I wouldn't have this. So I try to tell people all the time now is learn how to be your own best friend. Learn how to be able to say good things to yourself. And if you can smile and just even embrace where you're at right now, then all of a sudden you don't have any regrets. You don't have an anchor holding you back. You don't have, you can move forward. You can go from here and progress to whatever you're doing. You don't have to be where you want to be at the end of, you know what I mean, when the road ends. But if you can be happy with where you're at right now, you're not sitting there hanging your head. And that's something that I refused. I would not, will not. I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's way too many things, the woulda, shouldas, and the couldas. But the reality is, and I tell people all the time, if I wouldn't have did that Ultimate Fighter, I wouldn't have had that second fight with BJ Penn. I wouldn't have lost that fight. I wouldn't have decided to go to 145. 145, WC got bought out by the UFC, right? And if I'd have done that, I wouldn't have got that knee injury. If I wouldn't have got that knee injury, I wouldn't have had to fly in to let everybody know that I'm going to sign with the WEC. And if I wouldn't have been 8 hours late and she wouldn't have been 6 hours late on her trip and they accidentally took her to the Hard Rock Hotel when she wanted to go to the restaurant and I happened to show up at that exact moment and we crossed paths.
Yeah.
That was my wife 13 years ago. So had I sat there and said, poor me, I lost to Joe Lazone. Poor me, I lost the Ultimate Fighter to BJ Penn. Poor me, I went to 45. Poor me, my knee. I wouldn't have.
Sure.
Most important thing in my life. See what I'm saying?
No, I get it. It's called the butterfly effect. Right? You know what I mean? They call it
100% the butterfly effect. Yes, but it's 100%, and that's what it is. So I tell people now, if you can just, no matter what, we can hang our heads and really just drop dead and wishing the wouldas and the shouldas. But if you can just find it and love where you're at right now and just start, like I said, like training, drilling, everything else, learn how to say something nice because we can say some pungent shit to ourselves.
Sure.
And yet that's okay. But it's like, why is that okay? So if you can learn how to say one good thing, just like an athlete should get this because we're all repetition. We're all, we need to have these schedules. We're regimented, just like in the military. If you can learn how to just say one good thing at a day and build it, you know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden you're no longer, those aren't anchors and crutches holding you back. They're moments that created where you're at right now on a journey that you're still living. Right?
Yeah. It's like that. It's like what they say, what they call it, like on a TV, the pixel. You can't really, when you're up close, you can't see it, but when you pull all the way back, you get to see the whole picture. Or a painting, you get that little drop of paint. You don't see the beautiful paint. I 100% agree with you. I understand that. You know, going back to the butterfly effect. I came from a wrestling background. I started wondering, well, what if I went to this college and I wrestled? Well, if I went to that college and wrestled, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have my children. You know, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. So I totally understand that.
Exactly.
So let's go back. I definitely want to talk about your streaming, which I know you're extremely passionate about. But I want to talk about. So you don't reflect back, but you know you mentioned you have.
I reflect. Having said that, we can reflect for the moment for sure. We can go back now and have that. But having said that,
so do you have? You know, you had so many incredible, amazing moments in your career. Is there one that you're most proud of? Is there one, like, if you're with your child, you can only show one moment. Is it the John Lewis knockout? Is it the
Everybody asks that. Everybody asks that question, and it's the Stephen Pauling, the Bozo Pauling fight.
Really?
And it's not because I won. It's got nothing to do with it. It's the only time in my career both of my brothers were with me. My brother shot somebody when he was 16 and was locked up and wasn't with us in high school wrestling. Me and my baby brother, we wrestled. He was a freshman when I was a senior. My baby brother's been with me every day from college. The day I started fighting, he never missed a run. My brother then got locked up again for 5.5 years while I was in Boise, and now he's serving 55 years in prison. But for one moment, when he got out of that 5.5 years, 7 years, I think it was either 7 or 5.5, somewhere around there. Anyways, in Oregon, when he got out, he got to come to one fight.
Yeah.
And so for that moment, because again, I set out to create this journey. I just wanted to give my mom, I just wanted my mom to be proud. I wanted to give my family something to be proud of. I wanted to just us to have a good, just to have a kick-ass life, even though my father was what he was. And so for one moment, my brother got to experience that with us. And he still talks about it to this day. It was one of the greatest. So it was cool because it was one of the greatest gifts I could ever give him.
Sure.
And I, the way that I won and stuff like that. It's not, again, and we were in Hawaii, and you know how that place was. You're going over there to get their respect. And so him to be able to see that kind of magnet, that kind of platform, it's everything that I set out for in the beginning. And so that is hands down the greatest moment to me, because it was the only time ever, not in my wrestling career, never. I never had my middle brother with me ever, but one time. Once.
Yeah. So it obviously is a much bigger moment than winning a UFC title or something like that.
Well, the UFC title had its moment because that was for me. And that's what I set out when I got on that train, 2.5 days, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it goes back to, and it was tough because like every time I start bringing up mom, so I start crying. But I was just doing the stream a couple of days ago, and I just broke into tears when I was watching it, because I have this, and I don't like talking about, because I don't want to jinx it. And so I'm keeping it quiet, and I've been holding it for a very, very, very long time. But winning that title, it's exactly what I set out to do.
Sure.
But it wasn't enough. And once I did the Ultimate Fighter, because remember, I set out to tell everybody one day. I told my dad after he gave me a beating one time, and I said, one day, dude, I'm going to get so famous, I'm going to tell everybody about you. I'm going to tell everybody about you. And when I won that first state title my sophomore year, to see the smile on my mom's face, and to see my family in tears, everybody high-fiving my mom. And I mean, we always had wrestling, right? Even though the week sucked, we would go wrestle. And thank God for the Maxon family that drove us, because my mother worked at the racetrack, so she still had to do her thing, and they would drive us. And then there was other families along the way that took care of us, but the Maxons drove us every weekend and sat in that Dungy gym with their son and us and let us wrestle. And anyway, so to see that,
yep.
I was like, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. This is how I'm going to show my family. We're going to go on a journey.
Yeah.
Right? And that was one thing. And the same thing, like I said, with my brother, Abel, come with me. So anyways, I had to get, quote unquote, famous. And it really didn't hit until after I did that Ultimate Fighter, Sweet Baby Justice, the day that thing aired.
Yeah.
Day difference. And then, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What I just want to say
please jump in. You're going to have to, because I talk a lot. So.
No, you have a lot of passion. You have a lot of passion, and I think that attracts people. You know what I mean? Like, I'm interested, and I'm sitting there, and my mind's racing because I'm like, do I want to dig this way? If I dig this way, do I have enough? Like, there's a lot of ways we can go with this. Now,
hey, I got to tell you this. Before it was, you won't have enough videotape. Nowadays, you may not have enough RAM to take this interview on, so you got to be careful.
Yeah. That's funny.
Anyways, all right, go ahead.
So what I want to say we have a lot of new new fans of MMA, new listeners, new viewers. Some people might not be familiar with your story. I would not do it justice. I believe there's 2 books written about you. There's also a documentary. You have faced some of, and I'm trying to be very sensitive with this. You have faced things that no young man, a young boy, I should say at the time, should face. And everybody should read your book or watch your documentary and really kind of get. And I know that's only a little glimpse of what actually was going on.
No, the documentary saved me. That's again, when I did that documentary, I stopped winning fights afterwards. And it was because my son was born, my wife and I had met, and it was it's hard to explain, and even to this day, I don't really know, but I was hell-bent on it. I had to get, quote unquote, famous so that I could make this documentary. And I was fighting and out wrestling. MMA was it was like one more step of it's like just one more evolution to wrestling. So it was
Yeah.
adding in hands. So it's just a no brainer. And I loved every minute of it, and that was the thing is, you know, I was a kid who was born with the shotgun shoved in his mouth at 5 years old. My dad said, and then decided I wasn't worth the bullets and beat me with the butt of the gun.
Yeah.
But what I don't think anybody and the thing is, other people come in like, well, I didn't have it as bad. No, there's no such thing. And I'm like, did you ever cry? Were you ever scared? Were you ever worried? Were you ever screaming, Daddy, stop, quit? You know what I mean? Nobody should ever see their mother get punched in the face. Nobody should ever see their kids, their children cry. And, and it was, so it was tough, but at the same token, there was still a lot of things in there that it wasn't all bad.
Sure.
But the irony is, I mean, because we still had like I said, we had our wrestling, we had fans, we had friends that, like I said, families that took us and took care of us. So there was good things in there if you could find it, right?
Yeah.
And I think my thing was I was just really lost after he left. And that was me keeping my promise. So this kept me, like I said, I got a brother he wanted my father's love and attention more than anybody in the world. And it breaks my heart. And he tried to do the dumb gangster things and try to live that lifestyle. And like I said, he shot somebody when he was 16, locked up again. And now he's serving 55 years. I'll probably never, ever see my brother except talk to him like he's off in a far off place. Right.
Yeah.
And I had to be a better example for my baby brother and my sister. You know what I mean? And I wanted my mom just to be proud. So when the documentary was made, my number one goal at that moment was, all those times when I used to sit there and cry with my dad, like, when I'm older, I'll never do this. When I have a son, I'll never do this.
Sure.
And then there he is. I mean, I love my daughters, don't get me wrong, but there's Carson Jens Pulver. And I'm like, and I made that documentary, and then here's my wife. I get this opportunity to be the better, be a better husband than what I witnessed, a better father, a better, and that really took over for me. And it should have probably motivated me. See, that's probably the one thing that we could probably talk about when it comes to the regret is now that I quote unquote was happy, why couldn't I continue fighting? Why? What happened? And why didn't that motivate me to go train as hard as I can? The only way I can explain it, and I've had to answer this question to my wife, is I was done. I was done. I wanted to just be home. I wanted to be here. Yeah. I wanted to be around them. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe I had it all wrong. Maybe I did too. I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. When you talk about like your success, your run, you said that you wanted to be famous to basically tell the world your story. Were you motivated by anger? Is that why you're motivated? And now that you are happy it changed?
And I tell anybody, you need to have that little proverbial middle finger to something. Yeah. And allow that on the days that you don't want to get up, the days you don't want to train, the days you don't want to, like I said, get on a train for 2.5 days, give up everything show up with 2 duffel bags and a little freezer bag full of change that you're using to eat food with, and just showing up in a dead set of Iowa like, here I am. I'm ready to go be a world champion. You know what I mean? Yeah. But nothing was stopping. Nothing was stopping me. It just kept me going. Because I just wanted, again, fill my book, make this adventure, have a life's adventure, right? And that's later on is we should all be out there filling our book, because at the end of the day, all we're left with the stories. How many stories do you get to tell? How many people, and then to get back to it, is how many people are going to give you their time? Sure. And that's what I mean is, not only did I get into a situation where people would give me their time, they would wait in line just to meet you. That's the most insane thing I've ever seen in my life. But it's the greatest gift in the world. In a world where a family can be broke down on the side of the road and people just drive on by through no fault of their own. They just have their own schedules. They have their own thing. To get people, not only will they stop, they'll wait just to meet you. That's insane. It's the coolest gift ever. Like I said, and I've always been extremely, extremely thankful, but I needed to get there. Yeah. And I needed to get there. So when I made that documentary Driven, that was kind of my the letting it all go.
Sure.
For a long time. Then, I'll get to that. What happened was later on, like I said, my father, he said he threatened to kill me after my BJ Penn fight. He got a hold of me and said he was going to just, but we had this long conversation. Later on in life, we got to talking, and he was just talking about, he was miserable. He was lone, and he was just miserable, and I said, look, man, and I remember when he said, God dang, son, how famous are you? I go, I don't know why. He goes, I can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere without someone's like, that's him, that's him. I go, yeah, I mean, I told you.
Yeah.
And but then I go, but you know what? I go, here's the deal. I go, I'm done with this. I go, I just I would love to get to know you. I would love to be able to
Really?
talk to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I go, I can't now. I did because he was like, well, I don't want to live. I need. Why doesn't my? Because people would ask him, where are your kids? How come you're not living with this kid or living with this kid or how come you're not living with your son or what I mean?
Sure,
And I
sure.
was like, look, here's the deal. I go, I'll talk to you every day. I go, all you got to do is call and I'll answer the phone every day. I go, but you cannot. I go, you cannot be here. You cannot be around me because he still drinks. He can't help it. And he's one of those blackout drunks. It's all the cussing and you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, look, if you ever did that, if you ever spoke that way to my wife or God forbid, my son, Carson,
Of course.
and I was present, I would kill you without even hesitation. And
Sure.
unfortunately, I'm built now in a situation I could snap the life out of you so fast and you would win. You would win because they would take me away and you would have taken me away from the only things that matter to me.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know what I mean? But I go, I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you. You call, I'll answer. And so we started having a really good friendship. And here, yeah, until for about 2 years. And then I got a phone call.
Can I
think
can I interrupt you for a second, Jen? What year? Just so we can get a timetable. What year was this about?
Man, I was just retiring. So probably about 2015, maybe.
Okay.
Hold on, watch. She's going to hate when I do this.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll say it's right.
Yeah, about 20. When I started robbing with Dad again, he passed away 2 years ago, right? Yeah. Has it been 3 years? God, time flies. Okay, it's been
So
3 because
he passed away around 2018, give
yeah,
or take.
I'm getting there. So it was about in 2015 we started having conversations and we started talking. And the irony was, and he would just tell me, just the things that was going on in his life and what he's doing. He was still drinking. He was having to get his stomach tapped, and he was having all kinds of kidney issues and liver failure and stuff.
Sure.
Anyways, one day I got the phone call, and I was walking through the grocery store, and I said, "Hello," and I said, "Yeah, this is so and so from the coroner's office." What? And yeah, this is. And I'm like, "All right, stop." I go, "Hold on, I'm in public." I go, "Wait." I go, "I'm not ready for this." And she goes, "Look, I know who you are. I know your story. Big fan. I know your relationship with your father, but, and I'm like, yeah, what? She goes, well, he just died. He died in a house fire.
What?
And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, he died last night in a house fire. And she goes, and I had to call you. And I'm like, well, why is that? Well, we found his phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I go, you're the only phone number that was in it.
What? And
so that's why they called me. And see, I'm starting to swell up. I can feel it. But so the irony is, so I sent him to go talk to my sister and let it go. And I was in tears. I got out of the store. I was sitting in the car, and it just kind of dawned on me because now all of a sudden I got to just kind of sit back for a minute and just think, it's the craziest thing in the world. But I thought about this journey from how mad I was as a kid to if I could wake him up right now, I would tell him thank you, because if it wasn't for him, if it wasn't for that proverbial middle finger, I wouldn't have done all of this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so the message I want people to, I want to pass to people is even what we think is the most hated, diabolical, nightmarish deal at the time. Think about it later on. If I could go back, I would wake him up and thank him, because if all that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't have this. And again, it goes back to learning how to be your own best friend, being happy where you are right now. And if you can do that, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Look at the journey I went on because I wanted to change my name. Bob Shamrock, may rest in peace. When I was like, hey, I want to become Jen Shamrock.
Yeah.
I go, you adopted Frank,
I heard
you
that
adopted
story.
Ken. I want you to adopt me. And he's like, no. I goes, no, what I want you to do is, he goes, you're not going to change your name. I want you to change what it means.
That's right.
And that just stuck with me. I was like, all right. You know what I mean? So, but this whole journey was about that. And that was that proverbial middle finger. It could be cancer. It could be depression. It could be anxiety. It doesn't have to be a person, but it was just that was my middle finger that always kept me on that straight path, even on the days when I didn't want to keep going forward, right? Even on the days that I didn't even want to function or think half the time growing up in college. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so, yeah, to have him pass like that. And, that was, and I remember the first thing I did after I hung up the phone was I called my baby brother. And I said, it's over. What? I go, it's over. What? I go, the cycle's broken.
Yeah.
Dad's dead. I said, Dad's dead. He's like, what? I go, it's done. So that's the first thing that popped into my head was the cycle's over. It's done. You know what I mean? It was weird.
Yeah, and you obviously changed the name. And if anybody, Google's Jens Pulver, it's not going to be your father's name. It's going to come up you. It's going to come up all the things you've done, all the things you're still doing. There's a lot of things I got to ask. So,
you're not ready for this.
I mean, this is
going to be one interview in itself. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, let's keep going. So you said that you and your father had a relationship again around, I think you said 2015, give or take.
Yeah, right around. Yeah, give or take.
Why? Why did you need to have a relationship with him again?
Because he was in pain. He was hurting.
Yeah.
He was lonely, and I can imagine the kinds of regrets he had.
Did he ever ask? Sorry to interrupt. Did he ever ask you for forgiveness? Like, did he ever ask you to forgive him?
No, he didn't have to. You don't have to, because I told him. Here's why. Every now and then he'd get to drinking, and he'd have this sad story about why my kids don't love me. Why this? I miss your I miss your mom. This and that. And I go, here's what you need to do, partner. I go, don't worry about us. We're good. I go, you've got a son in prison that would have done anything for you. Mm-hmm. And yet that's the one that you won't speak to. That's the person that you won't talk to. But this kid was dying, literally killing to be next to you. And you wouldn't give him the time of day. I go, don't worry about me. Don't worry about my baby brother. And damn sure don't worry about my mom, because we're good. We found our way. You know what I mean? We found our path. We've created our family. We've moved. We've done, you know what I'm saying? We've all continued on. Yeah. We're very good with where we are. But you've got a son that is broken, and he is horribly broken, and he wants his father. Sure. And that's the conversation he and I had one time. And I go, if I was ever going to say anything to you, don't worry about, you're not hurting my feelings. Don't apologize to me, because I don't need it. You know what I'm saying? I'm good. But you go fix that relationship you have with your son, because he needs you and he misses you. You know what I mean? And he loves you more than anything.
So, you seem like you forgave him. Now, did your brother and your mother also forgive him?
Oh, God, no. God, no. Well, then here's why. Because, again, you never know what you're going to get with him. And this is the problem with blackout drunks. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I'm building this, I've got a bourbon label coming out soon and stuff is, yes, I grew up in this alcohol, but I want people to understand that there is a thing about everything in baby steps, right? Everything. And as long as you're sitting there and you're doing everything else, don't develop into one thing. But he was one of those blackout drunks where it just got to a level. Once that level was hit, they would dip into, I don't know where they go. Sure. And you'd have to be a scientist, but it goes off into a zone where he's looking at you, but he's looking well past you. My middle brother, same way. He's just, you don't even know where they're at, and they have no idea who you are, and they don't have no recollection of it later when they come back. And they don't have that cutoff switch.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I just knew that he was in a lot of pain. And I just said, look, I'm done. I'm done. After I made that documentary, that's what I'm saying. My whole direction was done. That was it for me. Yeah. I should have retired literally after the Cub Swanson fight. I should have walked away.
Sure.
Done. But like everybody, what's happened? Where did that world champion go? Where did the beast go? Why am I not fighting these people the same way? Where is the animosity? Where is the kid that my wife was like, get your butt to camp, go train for 3 months. I don't want to be away from my kids. I don't want to be away from my family. I don't know what else to tell people. I just wanted to be here, and I don't know how to do this as a happy fighter. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to be a happy fighter, but I know how to be, like I said, but I was still going through the motions. So I was trying to find him. I'm like, where'd he go? So I kept trying to look for him. You know what I mean?
Would you say it's like that famous saying, like when a fighter becomes civilized?
For some, but then some are already civilized gentlemen that can go out there and just wreck shop.
Some people.
Uriah Faber's one of my favorite people in the world, and the way he does it is he has a smile on it. He loves it.
Who did you say? I'm sorry.
Uriah Faber. He has a good embrace.
He's dancing. He just loves it.
So some of us have to have that. And again, it's not what I try to tell people. It's not the fight itself. I loved the training, but it's the everyday life that you have as well, right? And he was always that happy-go-lucky looking. You just see the smile on his face. He loved what he was doing. I was like, oh no, I'm going in there to smash something because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
angry and I'm trying to build this and I'm trying to. And then my fear was, and again, I don't know how to say it differently, but my biggest fear was, oh God, I don't ever want to be that dude to my family because then all of a sudden I'm no longer. I made a promise to myself as a kid I would never be that
Him.
like my dad. You know what I'm saying?
You have
I
to.
would
Someone had
never
to
do
break
it.
the chain. How?
Yeah.
I apologize for not knowing this. I saw the
Oh, it's
documentary a long. It's been a long time, if I'm being
on
honest.
VHS to Blu-ray. It's been a minute.
Yeah,
My God.
yeah, yeah. What was his upbringing? Your father.
Same.
Same.
Same. It's a lot of independence. A lot of independence. Parents were at the
Same thing.
racetrack. They had a lot of stuff. Just a lot of growing up on your own. He was a youngster. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And he was just mad. I think again, alcoholism was just something he shouldn't have been around. He should
Yeah.
have just stayed on it. If he'd have just hit the Pacololo all day, he was an angel. He was an angel on it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that alcohol in him it was just no bueno.
Sure.
And I don't know why he wouldn't. He just couldn't find it himself to get rid of it, right? He was too small to be big, wanted to be a jockey. He battled with all that weight cutting and dieting and continuously trying to do that, and I don't know all the demons in his head, but to go back to how this kind of started was he started talking to me about this. And I get it. I was like, dude, I'm here. I
Sure.
don't, because this is one anchor you're not going to have on your back for the
Yeah.
rest of your life. I'm your friend, dude. I go, I'm here. And I'll talk to you every day. I even let him twice. I had my son on surround sound where my dad could talk to him.
Really?
And yeah, my son was like, "Who is that?" I go, "That's your other grandpa." Who I go, "That's your dad's dad." And what I mean. So he got to hear. So I started letting him a little bit, but I just knew there's no way I could have him around me. You know what I mean?
Sure. So I don't say this often on the show, but I work for Sherdog part time. I also have a full time job. My full time job, I'm a police officer, so I'm
Oh my
very
God!
familiar
Well,
with.
and I love what you do. So
Thanks,
thank you very much.
thanks, man.
That means a lot. That's
Thanks.
really cool.
But I understand we call generational curses. Usually,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of things I always see was obviously alcoholics, but also like domestic abuse. If someone's seen their mother get beat up, their daughter's gonna get beat up. It's just something that's happens. And I always have these conversations. Say someone has to break the chain, and you did,
Yeah.
because if you didn't,
100%.
if you didn't break the chain, you'd beat up your son, and then your son would beat up his son, and it would just keep going. So I commend you because I know how difficult it is to
I
do,
could never see myself ever.
because you
I
broke the
could
chain, because you did it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I
Yeah,
could
yeah.
never see it. And that's where I was very, very lucky with coaches and mentors and things like that along the way. Like I got to see good people.
Sure.
And that's where wrestling saved my life because it gave me that other avenue. I got to see people high-fiving my mom. I got to see this life where we had these big smiles on our face. We were out there doing something positive. And then on Sunday, we had to come home and deal with, the darkness of the week ahead. But just enough of that positivity can take you so far. And that's why, so now we're like, again, that's why I talked about it. If you can just find that one little passion, something that you love, and if you can just even give it an hour a day, now you got 23 hours. Now you're not living in torture and nightmarish, this and that, and hopefully find a passion. Now you're going 23 hours, whatever you have to do so that you can live your passion. And all of a sudden
Yeah.
it makes it a little more worth it. You can deal with, whatever bad things are happening. Just wherever if you're not where
Sure.
you not to be. Obviously abuse, that's a whole nother bag. But I'm saying just when it comes to being, happy and stuff, it's like, yeah, no, I'm going through like this tough day at work, this tough day with this because I get to go do this at the end of the day, and that's your
right.
passion. So now you're going through, and that changes things, right? So I'm learning how to change the variables in my head, but that's what I learned by seeing these great mentors. I've got a coach, Coach Haight. I've had some great coaches, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But I'm singling him out because of the timing, and it was in junior high when I was really, really, I was wild at that point because now all of a sudden my father was gone. It took an 8-year-old kid to call the police. They took him away, and it's like, what do we do now? I was a wild one. I had no idea. And I wasn't afraid of violence, obviously, because I grew up in it.
Yeah.
So I would fight anybody that I had this little thing. I was little. I was small. And so I would bully bullies, and I had this chip on my shoulder. And I tell people, I still to this day learn about being belittled. I don't do well with being belittled. And some people know what I'm talking about. There's a belittling thing that just doesn't work well. And I carried that, You know what I mean? I carried that with me. So he was there he really took me under his wing. And I love that man so much. So my baby girl, her name is Hayden. I called him and it's his last name. Their last name is Hayden.
Yeah.
And I called my coach and said, Coach, I go, if it's okay, I really want to name my daughter after you.
No shit.
And ironic, yeah, she's little Jens. I mean, I got Madeline and Carson, but she's little Jens. And so that was my gift. And I guess the message would be for everybody out there. Your job, what you do, I mean, is just, it's sometimes thankless, but there need to be the love and appreciation that I have for you is.
I appreciate it, but I don't want to make this about me, man. Don't make this about me.
No, but I'm just telling you, because a criminal justice major in Boise State, so that was something I was in. So it was, but the difference that you make and you can make for somebody out there by just being a voice of just a positive moment. You know what I mean? They'll carry that with them. So now those are the people. So now it's my turn.
Sure.
So here I am retired, and now it's my turn to
be
get back and become that coach and that mentor that saved my life.
Is Coach Hayden still around?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
he's boss.
No, I didn't meant like I want to make sure he was still alive. I didn't know how old.
He's still around. I'll mess with him. Yeah. We're all getting old. Yeah.
Did Coach Hayden know this stuff was happening to you when you were in? I mean, I know it happened before you were in, but did he know?
We were really good about. We were the clumsiest family in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
And being in the wrestling was really good. We knew better. You can't bring that kind of attention. People like throw an SOS flag. You don't throw up an SOS flag. You're not going to make it tomorrow if that happens. Yeah. You know what I mean? In that kind of situation, you don't. And it's like, well, why didn't you leave? You know what I'm saying? Why didn't you? She was 19 years old when I was born. They were 19 years old together. There is no. It's a timing thing, and it took an 8-year-old kid to break it. He finally, you know what I'm saying? I'm out there protecting my mom. My mom's protecting me, and we're trying to do our thing. And it took an 8-year-old kid to dial 911.
That's right. People who haven't seen domestic violence, been around it, they don't understand it because they can't grasp it because it's not normal. It's not a normal. It's not how families and relationships are supposed to be.
No, it's not. But you don't know that.
But someone who's never been it, they don't understand it. And it's so easy to say to a woman, "Well, why don't you get out?" Well, maybe that's the guy who provides for me. He's the one. Where else? I have nowhere to live.
They worked together. Yeah, they worked together. Started a business. They owned thoroughbreds. We trained horses. We were in the horse racing business. Yeah. They had a stable together, and it was, you know, I mean, every single day it was work. Yeah. Every day they had to work, and that was the thing is, you know, because we went through this. Because when he did call the police and they did take him away, now I've got my poor mom with 4 kids.
Mm-hmm. And besides the physical,
and I'm in high school trying to figure out that part, and it was insane. And you know, she's trying to figure out how to fend for 4 kids, keep this house, keep us on. I don't even want to. I go back, and I'll let you get to what you're saying. There were times in my career, and especially when my son was born, I would call and I would just go, I don't know how you did it. Yeah. I have no idea how. I don't know how you did it. I don't get it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's happened so many different times throughout the career. And the thing that I tell people is, you know, is you're getting the best interview I've ever given, just so you know this. I've never had this conversation. I'm not lying.
I love it, man. I love it.
Because I respect what you're doing. And thanks, like I said, I think it's just time.
Sure.
But it was one of those things where it just, you know, the thing where I'm maddest to him about is you stole a relationship I was supposed to have with my mother, because I never stayed the night anywhere because I couldn't, because I was afraid that if I wasn't there, I was going to show up and my mom wouldn't be there. And I'm not kidding you. I'm telling you, this was my life. This is life. This is growing up. I never left my mom's side. I was taking beatings with my mama when you wouldn't get off my mommy. There are times, I won't get into this thing, but there were moments like I never stayed the night anywhere, because if I did, that was no way. I never left my mom's side, ever. Never left her side.
Yeah. So
until later on when she got it figured out, we got it figured out. Now she's living the greatest life I've ever seen, and I'm so happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got to pause you for a second. I got to pause you for a second because I want to put this in perspective for a second. You're 8 years old. You're 7 years old. You're not only elementary school.
5. He beat me with a shotgun and decided I wasn't worth the bullets.
Yeah, you're kindergarten. You're first grade, second grade. These are the not only are you elementary school age or grammar school age, you're early elementary school and grammar. I have children in that. I have three children. Two of them are in that range right now, and
Yep.
their worries in life is learning. One of them is learning their 6th and 7th multiplication table. The
Yep.
other one is learning how to write his name. He's in kindergarten. He's not worrying about will mommy live if I leave
We're
the
learning.
house.
We're learning how to be quiet. We're learning that we don't know. Like in the documentary, you can see it when we were kids. We had the red Suburban and the blue truck, and you look and there's the blue truck. We just took off. We were playing. We're like, nope. We'd go play in the woods until mom got home. You know, because someone had to be down there to feed the horses in the afternoon, and you know, what I mean,
Yeah.
so there's two separate sets, and so. But if it was the red Suburban, like mom's home, whoop, and we'd go right, and so you just like anything. And here's how people I think could really understand it, and it's ironic that this situation right now.
Yeah.
If 4 years ago I told everybody you're going to have to start wearing masks, everything's going to get locked down, you're not going to be able to do jack, pardon my language,
Yeah. It's all right. You good.
without a mask. But I'm saying without a mask, without being able to do all these things right now, you would say it would be the most insane thing you've ever heard in your life.
That's
But what I
right.
mean by that is, and the reason why I bring that up is because people are very good in small numbers. We're very good at adapting, moving, dealing, handling, compartmentalizing, putting it somewhere, and continuing on as long as we can find one little sprinkle of happy dust that gives us that passion, that gives it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which is, again, what wrestling did for us. It gave us that was enough fuel to get us through the entire week of everything else. And what I'm saying by that is you can look at the way people are right now. Look what they're going through. So many people. And what if they can't find that one little passionate thing that can
Sure.
help be that ember that doesn't put the fire completely out? Because I feel horrible when the fire goes completely out. And that's what I'm saying. And that was my middle brother when he just stopped hanging with us. I
Yeah.
remember in junior high pretty much almost verbatim when we went beep and we went this way. I stayed in wrestling. He wanted the racetrack. He wanted the horses. He wanted to, he loved his father. He wanted to be like his dad.
Yeah.
I can to a T remember it. And I made sure my baby brother was with me.
What do you think changed? Like, why did he go? Like you say that he loved his dad, and you went to wrestling. Like, why? Why was he loyal to his dad?
No, that just might have been his lifestyle. It's just what he
Just
loved.
what it was.
That's just what he loved. Because and I think that's the other thing. Like you were talking about how your kids only know this, and
Innocent
my
stuff.
Yeah, my kids don't know. Like they get freaked out if mommy and daddy raise a voice about what, and I'm down here like daddy, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. That to them is like whoa, because I make sure every night I have their lunches packed, put off to the side. They've got their routine. My routine was when I go to bed. Oh God, please don't. I don't want to be woke up with
Yeah.
the thunderous booms like. Oh my God. And then I got to get up and I got to go running. You know what I'm saying? And so it's one of those things where I literally changed to, I'm the complete opposite. My wife's like, hey, it's like, I'm like, no, I can't. Nope. You know what I mean? Nah, I can't do it. Well, it's like, you gotta discipline him, like be direct with, like you say this. I'm like, yeah, no, we'll figure that out. So it's
Figure
been
it out.
really learning things. And my kids know mommy's the boss. I love her to
Yeah.
death. But again, that's how it is. I respect her so much that like, she's the boss, in that aspect. And, but we're all learning. She's like, dang it, my third child, the one I married, I gotta,
Yeah.
I'm
So
still
let-
getting it figured out. But my kids don't know that world. They'll
Yeah.
never know what it's like to see their mother come running downstairs screaming, Genzi,
Sure.
Genzi, Genzi. And I'm like, they'll never get woke up like that.
How old are your kids? You don't mind me asking.
12 and it should be, wait, did she just turn 10 or should be 10?
10, 9 or 10. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. I don't like to say he's 12. He's 11.
Yeah.
He's 11 and she's 10.
Yeah.
Or she's 9. I'm skipping a year.
Yeah.
This last year don't count. The fact that my son's about to be a teenager is just, and then my daughter Madeline, she'll be 18 in March.
Yeah. Have you talked to your children about things that happened to you?
No.
Will you ever?
But the problem is, here's what I'm starting to figure out.
They'll find it.
Evidently, they Google more than I do.
Sure.
See what I'm saying?
I
They
mean,
Google.
are you planning on ever telling them before they
course.
find out?
Well, yes, and here's why. And this is what I'm afraid of. And this is, wow, I'm telling you this. This is out of respect. Well, I haven't told anybody. No one's ever heard this one. This is what scares me, is that they're gonna mess with my children because of who their father was. your daddy got knocked out by so and so. Your daddy was a punk. Your daddy couldn't beat this guy. Your daddy was weak. Your daddy sucked at this. Your daddy couldn't fight. You know what I'm saying? That scares me.
Yeah,
But what I have
which
done
is
is,
I understand, which is real. I mean, so we're taping this. This past weekend, Curtis Blades got knocked out by Derek Lewis. There was literally people trolling Curtis Blades. You got knocked, and
yeah.
guess what? Guess what, troll? You would have got knocked out a lot harder and a lot quicker.
The ha ha, you got knocked out by Joe Lazone. Ha ha, you got choked out by BJ Penn. Ha ha, you got the. And here's the irony. No, this is funny.
Yeah,
and this is
you're talking
something
about some of the best fighters who ever lived.
I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something because people still do this to me now when we stream, and I know you want to talk about the stream later. But this is why this is sitting next to me. I'm like, oh yeah, ha ha, motherfucker! Look what I've got on my desk.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Ha ha. So what I want my kids to understand is, I want my kids to understand that there's always going to be that negative factor. There's always going to be, and there's something that I've learned that fame taught me, and I use 10 people when I say this. And again, it goes back to learning how to be your own best friend. My kids know they know how to be. They don't hear negativity. They don't hear, you know what I'm saying? They know how to be positive. They know just positive effect, right? So out of 10 people, 4, yep, I'm going to say 4. 4 will see you smile and they just want to knock that fucking smile off your face. They don't care why you're smiling. They just know they're not smiling.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit. And then you'll have 4 more. They'll look you in your face, give you a high five, and as soon as you turn your back, give you the middle finger, call you a piece of shit,
that's right.
tell you ain't nothing. And we're like, when's my turn? Why he got to come up?
That's right.
Where's mine? How come I don't get me? And then you'll have 2. And no, sometimes if I'm in a good mood, I'll say 3, but normally 2. You'll have 2 out of 10 that are genuinely happy for you.
Sure.
Just because you're smiling. They don't give a shit why. They just see you're happy.
Yeah.
And that is, my children that's what they're going to learn and have been learning and will learn forever, is there will always be people that will always say negative things, but does it hurt you? Like, don't let them hurt you in here. As long as you have enough,
that's
right? Keep those scales nice and even. And my goal is to make sure positivity is always winning, because all it takes is one ass clown to say something. And some of us kids were battling, boom, drops us down. We hit that depression. Yeah. Next, you know, you're like my cousin who shot himself at 16. You're doing something, you know what I mean? You do something dramatic. You're doing something drastic. And then you get into the whole idea of being afraid of fighting, the way people can online bully you in person. Yeah. And so those are the kind of things that I used to be worried about with my children. But I don't, because I know that they're okay. You know, yeah. I mean, I hope they are, but I know they're okay, because I get asked this question. I'm going to jump ahead of you.
Good.
Is why don't you teach them how to fight? Well, I'm not ready. But now my son is starting to ask about boxing and weightlifting and stuff like that. And so they're like, I read this on YouTube, or I seen this on, I read this on Google, I seen this on YouTube. And so when they ask, and that's kind of where I've been at right now, is like, I'm just waiting for them to ask. I'm not ready to teach him how to fight, because my baby loves video games and he's smarter than me. He's one of the smartest kids. I mean, he's unreal. And I'm so proud of him. And I love that he loves video games. My baby girl is so smart, but she's always second guessing herself. She's just like me. She's like, I'm afraid to post something because I might piss somebody off, or maybe it's wrong. It's like, so I'm trying to teach her, who cares if it's wrong? As long as we can always learn, keep that smart, right? So point is, I don't know. They'll know about the abuse because, you know what I mean? It'll be brought up, and he's in the documentary. But more than that it's my biggest thing is they can handle it, because they'll never, ever, ever see that in this lifetime around me. Yeah. If that makes sense.
So you said something that really stood out to me. You talked about the 10 people, and you said there may be 2 people who are generally happy. And it made me think, because there's so much truth in that. Yeah. But of those 2 people that are happy, you said they're happy because you're happy. But when you're not happy, when you're down, there's even less people there for you.
And that's where you have to learn. Again, it goes back to, and this is, so when I start speaking, once this COVID thing gets out of the way, this is the idea of building your book, learning how to be your own best friend. You have to. It's like in any regimented training that we do. And I'm learning every day because of my wife. My wife she's solid, but I can only toad off her so much. Like, she's 98 pounds. She's 100 pounds on a big day, right? Yeah. But she carries me around because she's so mentally super strong that I'm such a fan. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God. And I'm always like, okay, You can only lean on me so much, but you got to. And so I started developing. Okay, you have to learn it. It's like drills. I can get up and lift weights every day. You're not going to get that physique if you don't lift, if you don't diet, if you don't train. If you want to be a fighter, it's every single day. It's not just YouTube training. It's not watching a video every now and then. Every day you have to wake up and you have to say something positive, and then give it a week. And then 2 weeks down the road, you're giving it 3 positives, 4 positives. Learn how to be your own best friend first, because like I said, I have said things to myself that if I caught you saying it to my kids or my wife, I would flatten you so fast. But so question is, why is that okay to say it to yourself? Why? Why is that? You know what I mean?
have no
So
idea how much I understand
this is
that.
what I'm learning, and this is what I'm dealing with now, because this is what this whole journey has taught me. And now that it's my turn to become the mentor, this is my speech. So that's when Twitch became the single greatest platform for me, because I'm in heaven. I love every minute of it. You know, this is what I get to do every day, is watch fights, break down old fights. I work for the UFC now, and I do the UFC fights. I do the watch-alongs. But people come in and we talk, and I'm just trying to create this positive, you know, group, community where people come in, and I will pause. I'll break tears. And that's the one thing they call me, the pause king, because I will pause in the middle of a fight and I'll start talking, and it'll remind me of this, and I'll start sharing. It might be an hour. We might go down a different rabbit hole before we circle back, but I like to prove that I'm not punchy. So I'll always circle back to where the conversation started, because I always had that fear. But I'm saying, I know you were going to ask, but that's why I love, Twitch gave me that place for my passion, because now knowing my whole story, the way I told you, is now that it's my turn to give back. People say, oh, you should get a gym, you should start coaching. I'm like, yeah, this is my gym. That's it. And you all are the students. I'm coaching right here. If you all are willing to give me your time, that's why I paused. You can go on YouTube, you can go UFC Fight Pass, you can watch these fights however you want to, upside down, backwards, with your thumb in your butt. I don't care. But in here, we'll watch some fights. It'll trigger this, and boom, nothing's ever rehearsed, right? So it ends up, you never know where the pause is going to take you, and I end up being the pause king.
And you're also interacting live with people commenting, so you kind of, it's not taped. It's not scripted.
The reactions are right in front of me, and I've had a couple where, you know, and so what I'm learning, and it goes back to what we were talking about, those 4 that want to just knock the smile off your face. You'll be in there rolling. There'll be hundreds, you know, the community's growing, you know, 200-300 constantly in there, you know, 2,000-3,000 come through, whatever. But even if when I'm doing the UFC stream, we had 1.9 million come through the last watch along we did. I know, throughout the whole watch along. Yeah, that's cool. It was insane. So here's the one that I'm learning right now, because Snoop my mod, he's the one who gave me this, and my wife was teaching me this, but it was that whole 86,460 seconds in a day. Yeah. And somebody says something, would you give up 600 seconds? Like, if you had $86,460, would you, and somebody stole $1,000, would you throw away the other just to go get that $1,000? Yeah. You know what I mean? And now you just, all you think about it, of course you wouldn't. But yet you have 86,460 seconds a day, and someone comes in and says one thing, and I'll throw everything away. Right. And for some reason, I can see that one. Chat is rolling up the list, and I see that one. And now I'm trying to pause it. I'm like, pause, get. And so, you see how I'm saying?
I get it. Trust me.
I know you get it.
I get it when we do interviews and people are commenting on my interviews. I'm looking at the negatives and not, pay attention. You mumble a little bit.
Yeah, I watch my people from StreetBeefs, you know what I mean? And they got to teach those poor kids, don't read the comments. But again, remember, why do I have such a small following? Because I had to delete it all. My wife was doing it for me in the beginning, because that one person, that's what I fixated on. And so I had 98,000 like 7 years ago, or I don't even know how long, maybe 5 years ago, whatever, in Instagram, and I deleted it. And I cut Facebook off altogether, and Twitter for the longest time, because I couldn't deal with all the positive. I focused on that one negative. Yeah. And now these people brought me in here, and they got me to start streaming. I was like, all right, well, here's the deal, Snoo. So I got it's 8K Snoo. He's Snoopy. His real name's Sean, but is Snoopy, right? And he's my moderator who just came in here and fixed this. Yeah. I go, all right. I'm not doing this without you. What do you mean? I go, I need you to protect me. And it's ironic, but I'm like, I need you to protect me because I can't do all this, all the digital. I can't do all this, the work
Sure.
side of this. Like he created this beautiful race car, and it's just my job to drive it. He's the mechanic, and I get all frustrated. I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And then the other thing is, I go, and I've got phenomenal mods that ban those ass hats because I see it, whoop, and I can't. I'm like a hound dog. I'm stuck on it
Yeah.
because there's that fighter still in me. Is how dare you? How
Sure.
dare you think? But then I learned this. And so, but then it makes me a hypocrite. And so that's usually snaps me out of it because I tell people all the time, think about it like this. And this is the other message I want my kids, everybody's kids to always understand is this. We're in a digital world where everybody can be reached. Like back in my day, I just had to go home and not answer the phone. Don't flip the tape over on the answer machine and nobody was ever getting a hold of me. Right.
That's right, yeah.
But now they're everywhere.
That's right.
Cyber bullies can be anywhere. They can come get you no matter where you are. They can find you.
Somebody FaceTime. They got Curtis Blade's number and FaceTimed him to insult him. Like, what kind of loser are you that
You know what it is, and here's why.
and you would never see
Because
that face?
Well, but here's the thing. Number one, because it's like I have a PhD in violence. But because I have this PhD in violence, I tell everybody, I stopped fighting the day I started fighting. It became a sport to me. It became a game. And now I'm having fun breaking that down. That's, again, why I'm a big fan of like StreetBeefs and Strelka, and where give these kids a platform to get in there and fight it out, like little exhibitions, but that holding themselves accountable, having a referee, having a time limit, but putting it out there on the video and allowing people to have an opinion is the single most scariest thing about it.
Sure.
So that is the one thing, but you can't hide from it. So my point is, and this is, so the message, go back to what I was saying, the message is that I try to tell all these kids, Curtis Blades, anybody, would be this: of all the people and all the negative things they have said, all the traveling I have done, all the people I have met, never in my lifetime, ever, have I ever met any one of those people, ever. And so what I want people to understand is take that comfort of they're not real.
Yeah.
They know they're not real.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
But because we have, and especially when you're like Curtis Blades and when you are an entity, an online personality, some people strive for it. You know what I mean? Some people, that's what they do.
Yeah.
When they go out there, they create their character and they act like an asshat because they go after that drama and they do the drama.
Yeah.
But most people, it's like, we just happen to be in this punch business, and it just sucks because, well, you're the one who fights in public. If you don't like it, go. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? There was always that accountability, to go back to why I had everything banned for a long time, because I always felt like there should be some accountability. And you should, like, don't think I don't have ISPs. I can't throw my peoples under the bus, but I can come, and it's like even on Twitch, because like I'm not allowed to verbally threaten them. But then I was like, well, then you better start helping me, because this shit scares me more than anything in the world. People start outing my, you know what I'm saying? Remember that whole thing about swatting? You know how bad that scared me one time?
No, what
people
was
started
that?
reaching out. You never heard about swatting?
No.
Oh, well, it got really bad at one point where they got somebody's information.
Oh, yeah.
They called the police station and they got the streamer's address.
Yeah.
And then one actually died.
They would fake things, and
They would fake like, hey, I'm holding my kids at gunpoint.
Right,
I'm gonna kill them. I'm gonna kill them if they don't. Thank you. I'm gonna kill them. You know what I mean? And so now, of course, now I'm talking to you. So yeah. So my point is, so you know how you're walking in.
Sure.
I'm walking in. Hey, guns first. Questions we'll ask. Hey, I'll let God sort this out afterwards. When I'm coming in, these people are. But you're over here. You don't even know what's going on in your mind. Someone just broke into your house. You're like, what the? You know what I mean? And now it's a bad place.
To give you a story, we had a story. This is when I was on third shift many years ago, about 7 years ago. We got called where someone said, I just murdered my wife. I'm at insert whatever address it was. So, of course, we're surrounding the house with guns blazing. And guys coming up, what are you talking about? I'm just sleeping. My wife's upstairs, you know?
Yep. It's the word. And the accountability of that, it scared me so bad because one person had like my information and was trying to post it and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my! I just turned the stream off because I didn't know what to do. I'm like, so my point is, I feel so vulnerable doing this. And again, it's again, like at Blades and stuff, being out there and fighting, when you put yourself out there, you feel so vulnerable. Like you're talking about having your, people having comments and stuff like that. You feel so vulnerable to it because the cyber world is a scary, scary, like I'm not getting into politics, but dude, it's a God-given circus to the highest levels of ridiculousness, no matter what, right?
Sure.
So that's just one of the things. Well, then they're like, well, just turn everything off. But I don't want to. So I guess we have to get into that again, risk versus reward.
Yeah.
What's the risk? What's the reward? And
sure.
That's, again, what I would pass on to Blades or pass on to these kids. I pass on to my kids, pass on to you. And hopefully, again, we get back to that scale. Hopefully that scale is always on the positive side, because what people, and here's why, because a lot of people turn to video games that were bullied and things like that. But now we go back to that PhD in violence I was talking about. See, I remember where I was, so I circle all the way back to prove I'm not
there you go.
So I have a PhD in violence, but some people have a PhD in mental and physical bullying.
Yeah.
And I could have learned this because I had a master teach me my whole life.
Yeah.
Firing the gun in the air, saying he was going to kill himself. Then my mom didn't go out. She ran out the first time. Oh, you thought I killed myself? Beat her ass for doing it. Then another day, he was all drunk, went out there, fired it. She didn't come out. Oh, what if I would have did it and beat on her that time and played those mental games and did all that, right? But these people become PhDs at this. And if they can use those powers for bad, oh my God in heaven, they're good. They're very, 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 very good at it.
Let me circle back again. All right.
I told you. This is going to be this will be like a 7-part interview.
Yeah. So guys, I figured this out about 5 minutes in, that this is not going to be MMA past, present, future. This is going to be me and you talking. That's it. That's the whole show. Okay. So I'll have to tape something in the beginning.
All right. I got you.
When you were told that your father passed away, what was your first feeling?
I stood there, and it was funny because my wife, she's looking at me, and I'm like, and I'm like, I didn't know what to do. So I'm holding the phone going, and I got tears running down my eyes. And I'm just like, and she's like, because people are like, is Jens Pulver crying? You know what I mean? Are you Jens Pulver crying? I was like, and I'm like, So I just went running to the car. And like I said, the irony was the first thing I thought about was I called my brother Abel, and I just said, it's over.
That's your youngest brother.
Yeah, my baby brother Abel. I was like, it's over. And he's like, what? I go, Dad's dead. Because see, here was the thing. Growing up, he would just, after he left, and it was us, we were dealing with our lives and stuff like that in college, every now and then he would just pop up. And I talked about it in the book and stuff like that. He got me arrested one time because he started this fighting. I mean, it's just one crazy thing after another. And he would just show up in my life. He would just kind of just show up. And like I said, when I did that fight against BJ Penn and I beat him, I got asked the question in the after fight interview. When BJ had you mounted, and he was hitting, were you worried? I said, worried? I go, my dad's been punching me my whole life. I go, this was nothing.
Yeah.
My dad watched that. And he had to wait. He waited. So the next day, we did the fight. The next day, I woke up, and I made it back to, we went to my friend's house. I got violently ill. We'll get into that story, how everybody in the thing got ill. So when I showed up, my dad called about 4 or 5 in the morning, just belligerent drunk. He finally worked up the courage. You piece of shit. You piece of shit. What'd you call it? You said that, this and that. I'm going, you know why I said that? Oh, let me tell you why I said that, sir. I go, because I figured you were probably sitting somewhere watching that fight going, that's my boy. Yeah. I made him, and I'm trying to mock his voice. That's my boy. I made him that tough. I made him that way. Yeah. I go, because that's what a dad should do. Yeah. A real dad. And so I go, so I pictured somewhere you sitting there doing exactly that. And I wanted to make sure that you realize one thing. You weren't shit to me. My mother made me tough. I was raised by a woman. My mother showed me how to be tough. This isn't for you. You shouldn't be sitting there watching this because you didn't put in on this. You don't deserve this. I go, so don't ever call me ever and threaten me based on what I'm saying, because 2 things will happen. 1, the days of you beating me are so far past, it's not even funny. 2, I'll snap the life out of you so fast if I ever see you in front of me. I go, I got a PhD in violence. I'm the best in the world.
You just beat BJ Penn.
I just defended my belt and beat BJ Penn.
So funny story. That was at Mohegan. I know exactly where it was. It was at Mohegan Sun. And the reason why I know, That was the first MMA show I ever went to.
Are you serious?
That was the first one.
And you know that the hotel itself hadn't been built yet, so we had to stay at a hotel that was close to it.
Foxwoods.
And we were all in there. We all got food poisoning.
You were probably at the Days
Big Holiday Inn, or it was some big inn. Yeah, it was some big inn. We were all in there, and the food poison went around, and it started smoking people early. Some people started getting sick. Like my manager, Matt got sick. He wasn't fighting. Jeremy Horn got and people were starting to go to like Kevin Rounderman, rest in peace. He had the shits. He had to go get shot. Go get the IV bags, and some of them got it early. And I still tell this story to this day. Poor Dave Menne. You want to talk about it? You want to talk about a gangster. He was fighting Muriel Bustamante on the same card, defending his belt. It hit him. He got sick during
the fight.
Basically, he was on the toilet throwing up, shiting everywhere, sicker than a dog. It never dawned on him to not do the fight.
Yeah.
He wiped his mouth, got up, and was like, here we go. Never once did he back out. Not once. Now, what I got lucky, because I never left my room because I'm a gamer. So I just sat upstairs with my brother playing PlayStations all day or whatever it was, right? And so I never left the room. But when I did catch it, oh, baby Jesus, it got me about, I would say, 6 in the morning. About 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, it hit me. Whoop! And I'm like, oh, and so I'm getting ready to go stay with my friend Tony Fricklin, one of my teammates. I'm going to go visit him in Boston, and I'm going to have my first lobster because my Uncle Kevin said never have a lobster until you're in Boston because it's the best ever. Yeah. All this stuff. So I'm going to have this lobster in Boston, and now I'm so violently ill, but I have nothing in my stomach, so I'm just dry heaving. So finally I'm like, first I was like, pull over, and I dry heave. Finally I'm like, just keep going. And so this is how I met poor Tony Fricklin's parents. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Fricklin. How you doing? Very nice to meet you. Where's the bathroom? Right there. Okay, boom. I laid next to the toilet, and I was there for the rest of the day. Never moved.
Really?
Never moved. Now, I can't imagine what Dave Menne had to do when he was fighting. And I can't even imagine, like, Monty Cox and all them had the cold sweats. Matt, everybody, Jeremy, they were cold sweating, had to go to the hospital. But it wrecked everybody. But again, what I'm saying is the stars were aligned. And here's the other reason. BJ wasn't there because somehow we had a delayed flight. We all got put on the same plane, and he got so freaked out because I heard this story. This may be true, may not be true, but he's like, how is he so confident? Why is he walking around smiling, having a good time? Because I got Matt and I got my brothers, my Militich team. I'm just loving life. And he's like, I can't see him. I can't be around him. It'll make me sick. I can't be around him. So he went to a different hotel.
Really?
Saved him. He got to avoid the whole damn thing.
I wonder if he was at Foxwoods, because Foxwoods
I think he was at the Foxwood or whatever that was being built.
No,
something
so
like that.
Foxwoods is big.
Foxwood was already there. So yeah, it was the bigger one, right? Yeah. So somewhere he was there somewhere. So I think there might have been some hotels there for the Mohegan, maybe. I don't know.
So I think it's called now the Days Inn. It's like 10 minutes away.
Yeah, it was a big one. Yes, it was exactly, but it was a Holiday Inn, Days Inn kind of.
Yeah, smaller one, not huge. Yeah, not the huge one.
Well, we were all in it, and we just had the rooms that the little, the lobbies that we'd have to train in, or whatever, the suites or whatever those were.
Yeah.
And we would work out in those. We never actually seen the venue until fight time.
So I was there. That was the first one I ever went to. I still remember it's one of my all-time favorite, and I don't know if you meant it by trash talk, but as soon as you won, I still remember you saying, sometime hype just isn't enough. And I still quote it, and that was, I don't know how many years ago that was, 18 years ago.
Well, today is the 20th. So I don't know if you aimed this, but did you realize today is the 20th? This is the 20th year of me and Cal Uno of winning the first ever UFC lightweight title. Today, February 23rd, 20 years.
Just pure luck. Pure luck.
This is how I thought you scheduled it on purpose.
No, just pure luck.
Right.
And I still remember, and anybody's ever listened to any of my MMA, I do a show called MMA Yesterday with me and Kyle Steele, where we watch the old fights. We do it one at a time, and then we do a recap. It's a history story, because
that's what I do on my stream. Not to steal away, but things that I got to miss: boxing matches, boxers, paying my respect, watching Roberto Duran keep going.
So we do the whole, we do one event, and then the next episode is another event. And I always say one of my all-time favorites, just sometimes hype is enough. And I will still say that about young fighters that lose, I'll say, well, sometimes hype just isn't enough. And that's what you said when you beat BJ Penn. I don't know if you remember saying that. Do you remember saying that?
I remember exactly. No,
Okay.
I remember exactly. Sometimes hype ain't enough. I mean, I was on the ground because he almost got me. He had me beat in that armbar. And like I said, it was an amazing. The whole story was just insane, on how it worked out and stuff like that. But that's it. It was just sometimes hype ain't enough, and it just. But at the time, that's the way I thought,
And Dave Menne had a terrible run at Mohegan Sun because he, as you mentioned, he lost the title to Murilo Bustamante, and I think it would have been his next time at Mohegan Sun was the Phil Baroni knockout, where Phil Baroni.
Yeah, was that after that? Okay, that was after.
Been,
yeah, he got.
I don't remember.
Mohegan,
there was a couple of them in a row.
Vicious. Yeah.
It was the one. I think it was the one where Randy lost to Rico. I was there when Rico beat Randy Couture.
Like yeah.
Tim Sylvia made his debut in the co-main event against Cabbage. But Phil Baroni was punching Dave Menne, and his punches were keeping him standing up.
Standing up. This is one of the greatest, most vicious knockouts I've ever seen in my life. It reminds me of Tommy Morrison, Ray Mercer, when Ray Mercer got him set against the turnbuckle, and he was just but his body, he wouldn't go down because his ass actually was on the turnbuckle enough to keep him up. Brutal. And Dave was the same way.
And Dave, I felt like his body wanted to go down, and Phil's punches were keeping him from falling down.
100%. They were so fast. Phil was grease lightning back then.
And I was
crispy little hands.
I wasn't a media member there. I was me and my friend Jared. We were I don't know how we were 17, 18, and we paid for the cheapest seats in the place. We snuck all the way down we snuck all the way to the front row. Yeah. I stood next to I sat 2 seats over from Dan Henderson, who was cheering on Randy in the main event of that one. Yep. And I remember talking to the tap out crew. Like back then, I always tell the story. People don't understand. Like I kind of miss this. We used to call it like the underground. What's the word? Like cult. It
was all kept alive by the underground forums.
Yeah.
Underground. Everybody knows about the underground forum. Everybody was fighting. Yeah. It kept. What people don't understand now is that kept everybody alive. It was the mainframe. It was the center of MMA for the longest time. That's how people could book fights. Yeah, for sure.
That underground in Sherdog, and that's where I work for now.
And Sherdog was right there with exactly.
And I always tell people, like, you don't understand like how much it changed. Like you walk through the corridor of Mohegan Sun, and there was a booth set up for the tap out shirt. You bought the shirt from the tap out crew. You didn't buy it from some college kid.
They were sliding right out the back of they were right out the back of their vehicle.
Yeah, I sit there and talk to Mask for an hour before the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he would give us our gear, throw it on us, and we were all we're always trying to steal from him. Get over, and give me my tap out gear, because Jeremy Horn was from day one with tap, he's always been tap out, 100%.
You would go over there, and there's a tap out, and then the other booth over there is Full Contact Fighter, and the head guy in that. Full Contact Fighter,
Joe Gold. Yeah, Joe Gold. That's who I was sponsored with, Full Contact Fighter.
And he's selling it to you. It's not Henry.
They didn't have. It wasn't the people there. Yeah, because that's too much. That's way too much money. It's like, just give me a booth. I don't want to have to pay, because then you're gonna have to pay like the pavilion, or the center or whatever. You got to pay their workers. I'm like, no, I'll do it myself, and that's what they would do all week long, slinging it right out the trunk.
I kind of miss that.
Like, I do too. You know what I miss? Well, here's what I miss, and it's back then. The other thing what people don't understand is like 6 shows, 7 shows a year.
Yeah,
you know how hard it was to get 2 fights if you were even lucky. So you could be in another promotion. That's what made it really, really tough. This day and age, people always ask, oh, well, what would have happened then as opposed to now? Are you kidding me? If I could fight every week, Jeremy Horn literally fought every week. Yeah. Literally.
He's crazy, though.
Could you imagine if we had the UFC, but there wasn't any shows. We weren't like that. So people, the one thing that it was like a reunion. When we all got together,
the big one.
It was a legitimate reunion every 3 or 4 months. Everybody's like, oh, you didn't get to see. Nowadays, it's so big business, and everybody's just, it's kind of, if I'm going to skip this one, this one. But back then, it was a full-on circus for the weekend. It's like, I'm going to the county fair. I'm going to the expo. You know what I'm saying? But now, but again, so it's got its plus and its negatives. I do love that you would have the opportunity now. Would love to have my career where I could fight once a month, and if I won quick, I could fight next week, because that's what, like Jeremy Horn, that's what he did. That's what we thrived on, trying to stay busy no matter what, and that's kind of being the champion did for me. Was it destroyed me, because I couldn't You get to fight maybe once every 7 months, and again, money wise and stuff. It's just what? But that's the one thing I always did love about it back then was everybody knew, y'all knew each other, and it
Sure.
was like a reunion, and it was really cool. And more of the diehard people that came in, fighters remembered you. The people that were hanging
That's
out in
right.
the lobbies, I mean, we knew everybody because they were coming in from last time. Hey, I remember, and you're saying what's up. Hey, how you doing? And
Yeah.
everybody, it was a lot more. But I mean, as much as I love that, I really do love the size. I mean, I love how
Yeah.
big it is now.
Yeah, yeah.
What I mean? You love it,
We
but.
dreamed about it being on ESPN and Showtime now and all that. We
And
dreamed about that
ABC,
stuff.
Could you imagine ABC Sports? Do. Yeah, I'm like what? There you
Yeah.
go.
I
So,
remember I learned how to play roulette from Shoney Carter. He was in the casino and I ran into him and he's like and he's like, "Oh yeah, I come play." I didn't even have money. He was teaching me as he was making bets. There you
that's
go.
awesome.
So,
Awesome.
anyways, guys,
That's
we are
awesome.
way over time.
All right.
Guys, this show is only going to be Jens. I mean, how could it not be? He was absolutely fantastic. Jens, dude, thanks for being like the realest dude ever.
Hey, thank you. I mean, and thank you for your time. Like I said, thank you for what you do. Thank you for what I mean. Again, my hat's off. Yeah, no, seriously, there was every now and then you never know. It just happened. Like I said, it was very cool talking with you, man. It just yeah, thank you for your
Let's
time.
do part two soon.
Let me know when. I'm in.
There you go, guys. Ladies and
Gotcha.
gentlemen, he is Jens Pulver. If you're a newer fan, make sure you check out all his old fights.
Oh, yes, real quick if I could.
Good,
So
good.
Twitch TV / Jens Pulver. And then, like I said, you can catch me every Friday, every Monday, every other Friday. And we'll be doing March 6th. We have a big UFC watch along, Twitch TV / UFC. Myself, Wonderboy does that Friday. I do every Monday. We're breaking down the fights. So jump in, Twitch TV / Jens Pulver daily and Twitch TV / UFC daily. Check them out.
There you go, guys. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out all the things we're doing on Sherdog and Loudmouth. We'll be back on the next episode. We have an absolutely loaded lineup. I can't give it away yet, but we have a pretty loaded lineup. Stick around.